Is up, guys? How are we doing today? Um, I'm back. I want to talk a little bit about inflation because I don't know. Seems like a lot of people really don't know what it is. Like people are either like the media talking about inflation, they either are purposefully telling you things that isn't true about inflation, or they fundamentally don't understand what inflation is. Inflation is basically just increase of supply money. And we track inflation using the CPI, which isn't really a good way to track inflation, but it's the way that it's done. And there's stuff that's left out. I don't think the CPI and CPI just doesn't actually track inflation, tracks price increases due to inflation. But then I think there's things that are left out, like housing and energy aren't included in the CPI for some reason. So it's not the best way to track inflation to begin with, but that's what we use. That's what the government uses. That's what everybody uses. And but people don't understand because you're gonna hear a lot in the news like, oh, inflation's down, and it's really not. And you just can go to the store and see that it's not. And I'm gonna play a couple videos before of some prominent people talking about inflation. Not this one yet. Yeah. We're gonna start with Bill Maher, who had some hot model on his thing, and he was talking about how we came out better after the pandemic. Supposedly better after the pandemic economically than we were before, which I don't know. Go to the grocery store, like just
Isn't it amazing to you?
let's watch.
Like it was in the paper today about this country came out of the pandemic way better. We won the pandemic economically. I mean, America.
Right? I don't feel that way. Explain it to me. I feel like inflation's insane.
Number.
Everything.
Inflation is not insane.
Bill,
I
go buy a car.
There's numbers. Oh, I understand things,
A
but
house
it has
tripled here.
Look, I get that people
Buy some fucking eggs. Explain
okay,
it to me.
but
I'm not an economist.
Which I think she's making great points like that. It's like I you this is what the media and the Biden administration is trying to tell you. It's like, oh, the economy's doing great, inflation's down. It's like they're telling you don't believe your lying eyes when it comes to inflation, which is crazy. They're telling you don't believe your lying eyes. So we're gonna, but
there's feelings, and then there's the numbers.
Okay, what are the numbers?
The numbers.
I'm sorry. Don't tell me it's people's pocketbooks. Don't tell them their feelings are wrong. That's such a. It's like, no, I know what I was paying before. I know what I'm paying now.
Well, the numbers have come down a lot in the last 6 months.
Okay.
Of course, it was inevitable when we gave out $6 trillion so that everybody could hide under the bed from the forever flu. That was never going to end well.
It was taken by the richest people ever, and didn't get where it needed to
a
go.
lot of it was stolen. It was. We agree on that too. It was like, was there some response needed? Of course, you don't want the hospitals overrun, but it was just a massive overreaction, and that did cause some of the inflation. But the big story, the big picture is every other nation in the world much worse off now. And this country, for some reason, just chugs fucking along. It's like it's almost scarier because I think we're just cocky now. We think we can do anything. Trump handled it. Pandemic handled it. What? Nothing happened. Did Trump blow up the world? Did fucking COVID kill all of us? No.
It is going to be the end of the world.
And it's like, yeah, but maybe the next one or Trump's next term, just because it didn't happen before, I don't know. I think it's a very dangerous way to live.
Oh, yeah. All right. Just the inflation stuff is really all I really cared about. And then he's like, he said inflation's down, which inflation rates are down. Inflation's not down. Inflation doesn't come down unless there's a negative inflation rate. Here is Bree Joy. I feel bad because I forget her name because I know I watch their show all the time. it's rising with what Bree Greyjoy, Bree Joy or Joy Gray, Bree Gray, and Robbie Suave. So, but there have an economist from the Heritage Foundation talking about which is a more of a free market economic thing, talking about economics, and her and Bree being a democratic socialist, they kind of get after it a little bit.
For the exact same house.
Help me understand this, because as you mentioned, and as we said in the read, egg prices are up from just a year ago. So obviously they did come down after the pandemic. And
I don't. Did they? I don't know. Like, just because they're up from last year doesn't mean they ever came down. And they really didn't. Inflation came down. Prices
so
never.
the allegation that the reason some of these consumer goods have high prices being connected to the bailouts of the pandemic era don't seem to track, or at least don't seem to explain in the fluctuation. They haven't been permanently up. They're up from just last year. CNN reported that, as you pointed out, egg prices rose 8.5% compared to the month before in January, and they attribute the cause to a highly contagious, deadly avian flu that's wreaked havoc in the egg market, and also point to the fact that there have been some allegations that these legitimate troubles in the market are leading to price gouging. Of course,
First of all, price gouging is such a bullshit term. Legitimate problems in the market means their demand is or the supply is lower, which means you have to raise your prices to get the same amount. Price gouging is such a bullshit term. I might do a video later about how price gouging actually is a good thing, but we're gonna move on.
the egg industry had to pay $17.7 million in damages for price gouging they were accused of doing in the early 2000s. Do you credit any of those explanations?
No, not really, for a couple of reasons. Everyone on Team Trans.
But yeah, I'm gonna answer just because there's a little fluctuation, like prices have been constantly going up, even eggs, even there's a slight dip, egg prices haven't gone down at all. Inflation hasn't gone down at all, because now I'm going to go in to get what inflation is right now. Inflation this year so far is 3.1%. So if you look at the graph right here, that means inflation, it looks like inflation is down from its peak at 7%. Well, then it went down to 6.5, 3.1, 3.4, 3.1. But that's really just added on top of it. Like that means that 3.1 is added on top of that 3.4, which is added on top. Like, they're all together and prices are constantly going up. Because that's what the Fed wants. The Fed shoots for a 2.0 inflation rate, as you like. That's kind of what they've had since 2014 on this. It's just all right around 2, and that's really what the Fed wants. Which, not get into that. Like, they constantly want your money to be worth less than what it actually is, and it's all bullshit. But the saying, like, inflation's down, so inflation rate is down from last year, therefore prices are coming down. No, prices are still up by 3% more than they were last year, according to the CPI in this chart. So, like, since 2020, inflation, 6.5, that's 13.5 plus 6.5, like, that's 20. Since 2020, inflation is up 20%. Prices are 20% higher than they were in 2020. And the only way for prices to go down is, like, as far as like the prices aren't going to start going down until this interest rate gets in the negative. And say we get interest rates next year of -1%. That means prices will still, from 2020, prices would still be up by 19. The inflation from 2019 will still be 19%. Prices will be 19% higher from 2020 if next year we have a -1 inflation rate, which we're never going to get a negative inflation rate, because they don't want that. They want us to try to, their goal is to get back to this 2%, which is still going to be, prices are going up every year on year on year on year. So, like, I don't know if they're purposefully, well, I know some people are purposely lying about this stuff. It's like, when the fucking White House says inflation's down, they have people in there that actually know inflation isn't down. Prices are still going up, but it's a good talking point. And when they say we need to tell people inflation's down because they don't believe us, like, no, we don't believe you because we see the fucking prices at the grocery store. Like, it's horseshit. Like, but they're expecting people to believe it. But I think when someone like Bill Maher or Brianna Joy Gray or Gray Joy, I think it's Joy Gray, talk about it, I don't believe they actually understand how inflation works. Like, we haven't had prices go down since 2020. We've had inflation rates go down, but the rates are still above zero, which means prices are going to continually keep getting higher. So, all right, guys, that's the video. I hope I was able to explain a little bit of what inflation rates are and what it means when people talk about these numbers. If you like it, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if anybody here is in Lubbock, anybody watching is in Lubbock, I'm doing a stand-up comedy show at Bar PM on University this Thursday. Come on out. Let's party. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time. Peace.